Seven Nation Army, a song by the White Stripes, the lead-off single from their fourth record, Elephant. One of the most recognizable guitar riffs of all time. It won the Grammy for Best Rock Song in 2003. The soundtrack for the Battlefield 1 trailer, a huge sports stadium anthem, one of the most iconic and celebrated rock songs of the 21st century. And in my humble opinion, it's one of the most overrated rock songs of the 21st century.
What?
Let's get into it.
Tapes rolling!
Now let me start by saying this. I like the White Stripes. I think Jack White is a stellar guitarist who's crafted tons of memorable riffs. I love their often playful and odd lyrics, and they're my favorite band to come out of the 2000s garage rock revival scene. And like most people, Seven Nation Army was the song that introduced me to the band. More so than this, Seven Nation Army was the first song I ever performed live with me singing, way back in the 9th grade. The point I'm trying to make here is that I've got a bit of history with this song and band, so my preceding criticisms aren't coming from a place of total ignorance. Also, I'm not knocking the fact that the song got popular. I mean, it's got this huge rock riff, a steady 4-to-the-floor beat, a catchy and singable melody, and lyrics about facing opposition. It seemingly has all the elements needed for a big stadium rocker. In fact, Jack White has stated that when he wrote this riff, he said that if he ever needed to write music for a James Bond film, this is the riff that he would use. So he definitely had a grand vision for what this riff was to become. Well, enough with the preamble, let's move on to looking at the composition. And I feel the best place to start is with the vocals, and specifically how lackluster they are. They're not bad in the sense that they're sung poorly or that he's off key or anything like that, but he just sounds bored, like the song's a chore to get through. And it kind of is, but we'll get to that. I know I said before that I'm not upset at the fact that this song got popular, but I feel like the song gives people a bad representation of Jack White's personality as a singer. If you know the White Stripes catalog, you know that Jack White is a much more expressive vocalist. But with Seven Nation Army, his delivery comes off as flat, plain, and uninterested. And doesn't that serve as a contradiction? You have these lyrics stating that not even 7 nations worth of armies could hold you back, and making this big declaration of triumph, but you sing them with about as much excitement as a documentary on Raisin Bran. Now, granted, when performing the song live, his vocals are improved, but I'm looking at the studio recording, the version of the song that garnered all the success to begin with, and the vocals in this version are effectively a pep rally without the pep. And similar feelings are felt with my opinion on the drumming. Now I know a lot of people give Meg White grief over how simple her drumming is. I'm not going to be one of these people. I feel that a lot of people have this mindset that simplicity means lacking quality, but this isn't necessarily the case. You can take simple musical phrases and ideas and apply them in effective ways. Take this song for instance. When the drums come in, they start off with a simple 4-to-the-floor kick drum. Then after the first few lyrics, they shift into a standard kick and snare pattern. The change between these two drum beats gives the song a sense of progression, that the song is going somewhere. Sure, it may be a simple change, but it serves a useful function, and I think that can be said about Meg White's drumming as a whole. It serves the song. Typically the highlight of any White Stripes song is Jack's guitar work and his songwriting abilities. Her simple drumming helps to keep the focus on the song's strongest elements. That being said, you can still achieve this while having more interesting drum parts. To me, a good drummer knows how to hold down a groove and add some flavor and excitement when it's called for. So, bottom line, I think Meg White's drumming is perfectly acceptable, but really nothing more. Okay, I've put it off for long enough. Let's take a look at this song's most crucial element, the main draw of this song, the key behind its massive success, the driving force behind this whole piece, the elephant in the room.
Oh, brother, this guy
That guitar riff. Yeah, it's a pretty solid riff. I find it kind of fascinating that throughout all the decades of rock and all the different styles that it's gone through, Jack White was able to craft this simple set of notes that struck a chord with so many people. I think that's really commendable. It's easily the song's greatest strength. But that leads me to ask this next question, which is sort of the bulk of my issue. Is this riff good enough to warrant being played on repeat for nearly 4 minutes? To put it simply, no, it isn't. Because let's be real here for a second, this is all the song has going for it. This is the part of the song that people remember so fondly. And he plays this one riff throughout the entire song. He plays it in the verse, he plays it in the chorus, oh wait, there's a solo, and it's based off the riff. He plays it in a house, he plays with a mouse, he plays a sporting 18 holes of golf, plays a game of Operation, plays the greatest hits of Kenny Loggins. He plays this riff for roughly 90% of the song. And that's not a comedic exaggeration, I calculated this shit. You know what? Fuck it, I'm showing my work. Wait right here, hold it. Where the fuck is my whiteboard? I got a piece of son of a... If we break it into bars, Seven Nation Army is an 114-bar song. As previously stated, the only real variation from the main riff is the 2-bar phrase comprised of a G and A chord. These chords are played before each of the 3 choruses and after the first 2 choruses. In total, this 2-bar phrase is played a total of 5 times and makes up 10 bars of the entire song. Subtracting these 10 bars from the song's 114 bars in total, and that leaves 104 bars, or approximately 91% of this song is the main riff being played on loop. Look, I know everybody likes a good riff. I'm no exception. A lot of my favorite music is riff-based. But good riff or not, a song needs more substance to keep it engaging. Excessive repetition diminishes the value and excitement of a riff. What starts off the song as an interesting phrase is yesterday's news by the time the song ends. This isn't to say that one musical phrase can't be the centerpiece of a song. I mean, they call it a main riff for a reason, but there are ways of crafting these kinds of songs that prevent them from feeling too repetitive. Let's take a look at some examples. This is 1964's You Really Got Me by the Kinks, a song that helped make popular the idea of guitar riff-based music. Compared to Seven Nation Army, this song revolves around an even shorter and simpler riff. However, there are a few key elements that prevent the song from becoming repetitive. First off, it's simply the fact that it's a shorter song. It clocks in at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, comparing this to Seven Nation Army's 3 minutes and 51 seconds. It has less to say musically, and the song's length reflects this. Before it can even start to get repetitive, it's already finished. Second, it provides variation through its key changes. From the start of the verse to the chorus, this song goes through 3 different keys. Even though the phrasing of the riff doesn't change, the shifting key helps to add melodic variety. And throwing in a guitar solo not based on the main riff helps to prevent monotony even further. This song is a great example of smart songwriting choices that complement the use of one main musical idea. Another good example of a song primarily based off of one riff is 1971's Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. Unlike You Really Got Me, Black Dog is a longer song than Seven Nation Army, with a length of 4 minutes and 55 seconds. However, once again, the song is written in such a way that justifies its length. It also helps that the main riff sounds like this. I mean, that is a phenomenal phrase. It's the kind of riff that unapologetically kicks the door in. Now, other than just simply sounding awesome, it's a longer and more thorough phrase, and it almost feels like a mini solo. The full phrase takes longer to play out, meaning it doesn't become a stale upon multiple repetitions. Alongside this is the call and response between the vocals and the instrumental. The verse sections of the song are comprised of an isolated vocal line and the main riff alternating between each other. It's sort of like a radio signal that keeps cutting in and out, only instead of being irritating, the result is pure auditory bliss. The call and response creates this sharp dynamic that lets both these parts really stand out. It also helps to create a sense of breathing space and give the listener a small break between the 2 parts. So when the riff does come back in, it still retains some of its initial freshness. Seven Nation Army is an iconic piece of the 2000s music scene, but simply being popular or well-known is not an assurance of quality. More than a handful of songs from that decade can tell you that. But with Seven Nation Army, the problem is not that the song lacks merits, but rather that it oversells its merits. It takes its greatest strength and then incessantly hammers it into the listener. But no matter how well written a musical phrase may be, simply repeating it with no variations is not a good songwriting practice, especially not for a song considered to be one of the best of the decade. As the song progresses, the riff becomes a crutch that the song desperately leans on to function. It's like a piece of tape that holds together a few bolts to give the illusion of a complete machine. But take a step back and look at the whole picture, and the song is exposed for the one-trick act that it truly is. And with that, we have reached the end. So in closing, I'm Andyb. I hope you enjoyed the video, despite my not so popular opinion. And if I make another one, I'll see you then. Take it easy.
Just do as you're told.